Maruti Suzuki's People Technology presents Suzuki Connect with Navigate to Car and many other features.
Watch more, feel more. Dell.
160 exactly then for Afghanistan. This is Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricket for T20 timeout powered by Dell. Ajit Agarkar said 160 is what they'd like to get batting first. We're not quite sure what team should get. At Abu Dhabi, Peter Borren said Namibia wouldn't mind 160, to be honest. So it sets things up nicely. Well done, Ajit. They've got 160. So I'm assuming if you're Afghanistan, you're happy.
I mean, ideally, they would have liked another 10 runs, 10, maybe 15. But 160, Namibia will have to bat well. The conditions are good. Uh, I mean, I quite agree with Peter, what he said before the game. 160, they'll take it. Anything over, then it starts getting into slightly more difficult territory. So 160, Namibia may not be too disappointed, but Afghanistan would have wanted a minimum of 160. I
Yeah.
don't think anything less than that they would have been happy with.
Yeah, it sets the game up nicely, Peter, doesn't it? It's the kind of score which we'll have to look back at the end of the game and say, did Afghanistan really get as many? But it sets this game up nicely, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course, 160. I think Namibia will be happy with that, given the dangerous nature of the Afghanistan batting lineup. I certainly don't think 160 will be an easy chase for Namibia, and they're going to have to probably go about it a little bit differently than what they have, in my opinion, in the past in this tournament. Their modus operandi has been to keep wickets in hand and to rely on JJ Smith and David Vista to smash it at the end. But particularly with this Afghanistan team, if they're going to hold Rashid Khan back, I think Namibia could do with getting a bit of a stronger power play today. I mean, so far in this tournament, what they've got 30, 41, 27 and 29, not for the loss of many wickets, but trying to set it up for the back end. I'm not sure if that'll be a good tactic today against this Afghanistan bowling attack. I think they need to go a little bit harder, take a few more risks early than Namibians.
Yeah, they've been interesting. They've been sensible in chases. David Visa's added impetus. So we'll come to that in a second. But how Afghanistan got to their 160 is curious for me today, Ajit. It looked like it was a different way to get there. Or was it Shehzad was trying to go hard, Zazai was trying to go hard, but they did well in the power play, got 69 at the end of 10. They got 46 in the last four, which have taken them to 160. Is that do you sense a different approach that was taken today?
It seems that way. We'll have to wait and see till Afghanistan bowl on it and Namibia bat on it, whether there is something in the pitch where they couldn't quite come to terms with the pace of the pitch. Lots of pace taken off by the seamers or the medium pacers of Namibia. Whether that's actually sticking in the pitch. Sometimes it happens in the afternoon game. Batting perhaps gets a little bit easier second innings once the lights come on. So we'll have to wait and see if the conditions were a little bit tricky. But eventually they got to that 160. I think anything less, they would have been a bit disappointed. Approach certainly changed. Perhaps they knew that they had to change their approach because enough in the batting to get them to that score. And perhaps that's why they did it. But we'll have to wait and see if the conditions dictated a little bit when they bowl, we'll find out a bit more.
33 to Zazai, 45 to Shehzad. Peter, they're not necessarily your 2021 athletes of the year, are they? But this is one sport which can accommodate them. Skills and power hitting still seems to be around.
Yeah, and if you get in their zone, it's going to disappear. And we saw that today. I thought Namibia actually bowled, although that was 50 for none in the power play. I think Namibia bowled pretty well. They didn't have much luck. But you see, as soon as you pitch it up there to Zazai, it's going to go for six. Pretty much as soon as the bowler let go of the ball and it was pitched up, it was six. And they tried to stay away from that. And what did he made 33 off 27 balls, and so it wasn't exactly he didn't completely dominate. There was a few French cuts. I thought throughout the innings actually, the Namibians were a little bit unlucky. I thought their discipline was excellent. They did use the pitch, and I think what Ajit says is absolutely right. I actually think this wicket had been a little bit slow. Namibia did well in terms of how they bowled on it. But you also see there that Lofty Eaton, who hasn't bowled much during this tournament, his 4 overs went for, I think, 21, got a couple of big wickets. And as a leg spinner, and that could be a little bit danger signs for the second innings. And saying that, of course, we know that Mujib is not playing and Hamid Hassan is, which is definitely a big bonus for for Namibia, I would say at half time, they'd much prefer to face the pace. And particularly as we saw, that pace off was working in that first innings.
Yeah, it's a big one at this point, isn't it, Ajit? We saw the slow bowlers for Namibia and what Mujib can possibly do. That would be 12 overs of spin with Rashid and Nabi. Suddenly you could contend with more pace than otherwise.
Yeah, couldn't quite understand it, to be honest. Afternoon game as well, so it's
I
not
think
like.
he did say it's a injury related call. So I think that's what was said.
Yeah,
So
I mean, then it's if it's a forced change, you can't help it. Then you look at what your next best option is, whether it's a spinner or a fast bowler. Then it doesn't matter. I mean, they've got an experienced bowler, and so if it's an injury, otherwise, I mean, I was a little bit surprised at the toss that he did say that Mujib's not playing because. I mean, we saw what he does. Those sorts of bowlers, they get you wicket. He bowls at the start of the innings. He's very effective in the middle of the innings. So it will be a loss to him. And I think Namibia will be happier that he's not in that 11.
yeah, I mean, Peter makes the point. There were a few French cuts there. I think Asghar Afghan enjoyed a few of those as well in his last day under the sun for Afghanistan. That seemed to be a little event within the event of today's match. Asghar Afghan's retirement and farewell, crowd involved, players, dugout. Heck of a send off that, Peter. Did you have something like that when you called time with the Dutch? Anything
Oh
close?
no! Quite the opposite. I went to a qualifying tournament, which nothing went well for us. And 2 months later, I was quietly given the sack in the boardroom. So no, I had none of that. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
no, but he did ride his luck. You could see there was a lot of emotion on display. It almost seemed to isolate itself from the game itself, Ajit.
Yeah, but you can see what it means to them. I mean, it's such a different story about Afghanistan. They're our neighbors, so we know how tough it has been there. It has
Yeah.
been for them to, a lot of their cricket or their preparation was happening in India
Yes.
earlier on when they started. So it has been a tough road, and he's been a massive figure when they've come back to international cricket. So deserved it. It's always nice. He'd hope to finish with a win because he's certainly contributed with the bat.
Yep, he looks like a statesman, isn't he, for the sport? Started off as Asghar Stanikzai, rechristened to Asghar Afghan, and now looks like there could be a career for him, perhaps in something to do with cricket, or maybe even more in public life. But he certainly has the support of the public if he chooses to go down that route, Peter.
Yeah, it looked very like he's incredibly popular amongst his
Yeah.
teammates. And who knows whether he's what he's going to do after now it's finished. I think today, as you say, it's been a big day for him so far. And yeah, he'll be hoping that they can get a win. It's a bit strange in the middle of a tournament, it must be said. I've never really seen anything like this.
Sure.
But he's getting his day in the sun, and good for him. He did contribute as well, which is nice.
Yeah, he said something about the game against Pakistan just hurting him, and therefore he's called time because he says he wants to leave with good memories and wants to give chances to youngsters. So that's what he just said at that halftime chat to the host broadcaster. Anyway, coming to that in a bit. 161 then. Peter Borren says Namibia have to bat differently, Ajit. Perhaps go harder than they tend to usually. They wait for impetus from the likes of David Weiser. What would be their best chance to chase this down?
I think one of the things, and it's probably stating the obvious, is a good start. I think
Hmm.
I understand where Peter's coming from, where you don't want to leave too much to do. Rashid Khan's 4 overs. Okay, he could have a bad day, or one of the batters could get hold of him, but we've seen that's very very difficult to do. So the start, even I mean, you're not never going to win the game in the first 6 overs, but you're likely to lose it if you lose too many wickets. So wickets in hand might work for them. Obviously, they can't let the run rate get too high, but maybe a little bit more sensible. And perhaps
Yeah.
if the conditions are good, they'll anyway get a good start. So I think the start is going to be critical if they have to get anywhere near that target.
Yeah, we've seen sensible from Namibia, haven't we, Peter? And the chases that they have managed. And we do see a lot of associate teams, even other teams, just want to sweep blindly against spin, like we saw a little bit with Scotland. That wouldn't be wise against Rashid Khan, you think, from Namibia?
No, I think that obviously we've already discussed it, but Majib is not playing. You're going to have to think of Rashid Khan's as only 20% of the overs, and let's be honest, Ajit says maybe he doesn't have a great day, but from what we've seen, he generally does. He knows what he's doing. So if you think that it's 20% of the overs, you've got 80% of the rest. You've got 16 other overs to score your runs off. As long as you don't let Rashid Khan take those wickets. And obviously, because he's going to probably, the way they've been playing anyway, they hold him in reserve in a way. I think they do have to take a bit of a chance. I think they've had Williams at the start. He struggled with the wickets a little bit. They've had Van Lingen opening with him. They've had Zane Green. I'm not sure if it's been on purpose, but they've really struggled to get it off the square in that first 6 overs, first 10 overs. It's really has been Erasmus, Visa, and JJ Smith who have done the damage. I think at half-time here, they must be thinking, what can we do here? We have to take a little bit of a chance. This is an opportunity for a huge win in the Super 12 here. They could go 2 wins out of 2, but they have to take a chance. And for me, it's not so much, let's just try and play our disciplined cricket. When you're an associate team playing in these competitions, sometimes you just have to risk the fact that maybe, yes, you're going to end up, you might end up rolled. But this is where, you can have a huge day, the day that your cricket country will remember forever. We look at upsets that happen at World Cups, and this is you have to have the guts, I think. You have to be able to roll the dice a little bit because, no doubt Namibia could get 130 here. But there's no difference for me personally if you get 130 or if you get 80 all out. Now, 160 is a huge chase. It's not going to take just normal cricket. It's going to take something special given the Afghanistan bowling attack. And for me, I personally am a firm believer in having been an underdog at World Cups and at this level that you need to take a bit of a chance and you can put the stronger or the favourite opposition under a little bit of pressure that way and maybe get them off their game plan a little bit. And that way you have a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if they are a registered win against Afghanistan, that'll be their biggest day, you think, Namibia. It'll spoil Asghar Afghan's party, and Asghar is still sitting in the dugout right now, just wiping away a few tears. It's nice to see an emotional moment. But he'll have to get on the field at some point, you think, in this chase that's already underway. So many thanks to Ajit Agarkar and Peter Borren. We will have plenty more from our panel as we build up to India-New Zealand at 7 o'clock. Join us then on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout powered by Dell, 7 o'clock India time, of course. And we will wrap this game up as well, so you can catch that on the site too. Do join us for what is going to be a massive day in the fate of Group 2.
Maruti Suzuki's People Technology presents Suzuki Connect with Navigate to Car and many other features.
Watch more, feel more, Dell.